All right, so we're going to do Unit 3, Section 3.1. We're going to be talking about sample surveys. And we're going to go through, if you look at your notes, we'll start off with some definitions. We'll start off with the population. So what's a population, right? Population's everyone that we're interested in collecting information from. So here I have a bunch of stick figures that I drew. Not bad for a quick little drawing I did myself. And what I want to know is, all right, if I want to know the average height of all of these people, and I'm interested in the average height of my population of stick people, population of all of these people. So how do I do this? How do I collect this information? Well, there's a couple different ways of doing this. I could do a census, and a census is I use the entire population to get information from everyone. And I can do that because I only have 15 people here, so it'd be really easy to do. I can ask each of these people to give me their height, and I can actually do that. So my population, I can take a census and ask everybody their height, and that number I come up with is called a parameter. And you'll notice the population and parameter both begin with P, so it makes life a little bit easier to remember that. But a lot of times it's not going to be that convenient where you can get information from everyone that easily. So then what would we do? We would do something called a sample. And what I do is I pull two people out of here. I could pull this person here and say her, and I could take them, bring them over here, and I have a sample. So here I have a sample of 2. Most of the time we're not doing a sample of simply 2, but you get the idea. From my population, I create a sample. I pick 2 people and I put them over here. Now in my sample of 2, I can find their average height. And if I did that, that would be called statistic. And this is easy because statistics come from samples. They both begin with S. The big difference between parameters and statistics is this is a fixed number. The reason it's a fixed number is these people don't change. They're the same. I mean, they're going to change. Their heights may change and all that. But theoretically, if I were to take these people right now and then take it again, take their measurement again, I'm going to get the same number. But samples vary from one to another because I picked these 2 people. Well, what if I pick 2 different people? What if I pick this person back here and this person over here? They're not going to have the same average height as these 2 people. So statistics vary, parameters stay the same. Now, how I chose these people, I just decided to take this one and this one. That's not a very good way of choosing a sample. There are methods that we're going to use and procedures we're going to use. And there's some that are good and some that are poor. And the ones that are poor, 2 that are in your notes, called a convenient sampling and voluntary response sampling. They're not good methods because they give biased results. A lot of times what happens in a convenient sampling, and I'll do it quite often, is I use the class because it's easy. You're here, I use you. But that's not a good way to sample because I'm only getting the information from the people that are taking this class, and a lot of you have a lot of things in common because you're in this particular class. For instance, I always, tell my AP Stat class, it wouldn't be a good idea to use their math SAT scores to represent the whole school because if they're in my AP Stat class, they're all good at math. So that's why convenient sampling has something called bias when I'm not representing the entire population that I want to represent. So that's bad. And then voluntary response, when I ask you to give me your response, when I put it out there and I ask you, hey, if you feel like calling in, let me know how good of a job I'm doing or something. Only people with strong feelings usually call in to volunteer their response. So that also has some bias. So what we do when we sample, the type we're going to use most often is something called a simple random sample. And in simple random sampling, what we do is we number everybody that we have available to us. Sometimes it's the population, sometimes it's not. But the people that we have available to us, we number everybody. All right, we number them all. And then after we number everybody, what I do is I use a random number generator. And I'm going to be using my calculator to do that. We're going to use random integer. And I start numbering these people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's say I'll go into my calculator and I do random integer. And I'll say, all right, well, I started with 1, I ended with 20, but I wanted 5 people. It'll spit out 5 numbers for me. Then what I do is, let's say I got 2, 12, 16, 20, and 14. So I use these numbers and I find those people, and they're the people I'm going to survey. So I make sure that the numbers don't repeat, because I don't want to survey the same person twice, so it give me the same opinions. So what I do is make sure that my numbers don't repeat, and I find these people and I survey them. A lot of times you think of it, if I put a name in a hat, I put everyone's name in a hat, shake it up properly and pull out those names. That's a simple random sample, and that's fine to do it that way. But it's much easier when I have hundreds of people to just find a list of names, number those names, do a random sampling, come up with those, and then survey those people there. So that's a simple random sample. There are other type of samplings that we'll do. The two most common that we'll use are something called a stratified and clustered. Now in stratified, what we do is we break people into groups. We take these people and let's say we break them into some common thread called a strata. And now when we have a strata, it could be anything. It could be age, it could be gender, it could be income. Well, I'm going to say, let's say freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors. So I break them into groups first, and then what I do is I pull 5 people from each group doing a simple random sample. So I do a simple random sample within each group, then I use all of these people to create my sample of 20. And the reason it's not a simple random sample is because I couldn't have 20 freshmen. In a simple random sample, every possible grouping of 20 would have to be an option, and it's not here. So that's stratifying. When I do a cluster, the big difference is I still break people into groups, but then once I break them into groups, I take an entire group of people, and I'm not breaking them down by some common thread here. Instead, most of the time when I break them into groups, I keep those groups heterogeneously mixed. So a lot of times they'll do it by zip code, or let's say homeroom, right? So I have homeroom. I didn't break those people down. I did not read that. Homeroom. So let's say I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different homerooms. Well, what I do now is I do a simple random sample from 1 through 6, and let's say 1, and let's say the number 4 comes up. Well, I take all the people in homeroom 4, and they're the people that I put into my survey. They're all the people that I survey, and that's called a cluster. So in clustering, the group's heterogeneously mixed, whereas these are homogeneous with something that they have in common, that they're sharing some common thread. So there are different types of sampling that we're going to do. Thank you.